So the story ends, man, with the victory from Spence. Real easy victory, man, I must say. I really didn't expect anything different, even though I went for Mikey Garcia. I went for him because, Mikey Garcia, I've been a fan of Mikey Garcia since he debuted. Same thing for Spence, but it's just that I was with Mikey Garcia from the beginning, so I just felt I mean, it should only be fair that, I would continue to stick with the guy, even though knowing Errol Spence is pretty much going to pull out the victory. So, uh, Mikey Garcia couldn't stick to the game plan. The game plan was to be in and out, circle, making sure that when you went inside that you was able to throw combinations uh, and to try to be on the back end of Errol Spence's punches and possibly shift to his left on the outside of Spence's dominant foot, and come in straight down the pipe with the with the right hand shot straight down the pipe. And he tried that a couple of times, and Errol Spence negated it. And he tried to Mikey Garcia. He tried to touch Spencer with the jab, and then follow up with the left hook, but he wasn't able to touch Spence all night with the jab the way that he wanted to. He couldn't. He just couldn't get that shot off, and because Spence kept maintaining his distance, he had about with the widening of his stance, he had probably like 3 feet, 3 feet on Mikey Garcia, to where he could kind of keep his jab out there, keep Mikey Garcia at a distance, and follow up with his jabs. He was doubling and tripling up on jabs all night. He was following through with the hooks. He landed some solid uppercuts. He went to the body. Pretty much what he does in every fight. The only difference is that he was doing it moving, more so pivoting. He wouldn't let Mikey Garcia set. He wouldn't let him set up at all. He decided when he wanted to move backwards, he decided when he wanted to go forward, he decided when he wanted to turn, and it just got to a point after the third round, pretty much, where Mikey Garcia's game plan went out the window. I knew early that if he didn't establish anything, by the third round, I told my mom, 'cause I made her watch boxing with me tonight. But I told my mom, if he doesn't do anything in the third round that's interesting to kind of shake things up, then Spence is just going to walk through him for the rest of the night. You can't not show a guy with that intelligence something different. You're going to have to come with, 2 or 3 game plans at this level. You can't come into a fight with just one game plan. You got to have multiple game plans. And Spence warned him during the face to face that they had. When all of that stuff goes out the window, when your game plan goes out the window, what are you gonna do? I have grit. If all else fails, I have grit, and I'm gonna be able to push through. And that's not to say that Mikey Garcia didn't have grit, because he stepped up in the first place to be able to take on a fighter of that magnitude, a guy with that kind of power and boxing IQ. Um, Errol Spence, man, he's a sharp character. But anyway, to stick to the fight, it was pretty much, like I said, it was pretty much a done deal after the third round. Mikey Garcia didn't land anything of significance. He tried to he tried to save face a little bit between maybe the fourth, the fifth, or the sixth, but I didn't give him any rounds. I couldn't give him any rounds. He didn't do anything at all in there to back Spence off of him. Before long, if he landed like a combination that kind of backed Spence up, Spence was right back in his face. So he didn't do anything to keep Spence off of him. Um, yeah, they didn't really tie up much. The referee, honestly, if you watch that fight, you didn't even know the referee was in the ring. He was nowhere to be found. He didn't need to do anything, because Spence made sure that Mikey Garcia didn't get any rest. Mikey Garcia was tired. He was extremely slow. I guess he had more than 7 pounds of weight on him. They kept saying how he he came up 2 weight classes, and we've seen Mikey Garcia fight at 140. So, he moved up a weight class to take on a guy, which means that he only technically needed to put on 7 pounds. And that amount of pounds was too much for him tonight, even though he had more than 7 pounds of weight on him. So he didn't tighten up around the belly the way he looked against Adrian Broner. He looked really, really sharp against Adrian Broner physically. He looked pretty good, and he didn't look like that at all coming into tonight's fight. He looked like he hadn't even had a solid training camp, honestly. I mean, during the their face to faces, he looked like he had been working out, doing some strength and conditioning training. He looked like, he was putting on weight pretty good and cutting up pretty good. And fight night, he just didn't look like he had been working out at all. Just too much weight. And it was Spence was way too much for him, like we all knew. I just don't like how the media does things, man. They always have to flip the script type of type of mentality and try to turn things into racial perspective all the time, and I hate that, man. I really do, because I watch these guys come up, from the bottom all the way to the top, Olympics all the way up, and it's just sad that two guys that have kept it classy throughout the sport of boxing as long as they have, that one guy who's the victor can't really get recognition the way that he needs to with all of these without all of these racial connotations, man. And it's just depressing. That stuff is irritating. All you got to do is just get a guy his just due. He beat the guy called him out. He didn't call Mikey Garcia out and beat on the little man. The little man called him out, and he accepted. Nobody else was willing to come to the table. Not Keith Thurman, not Porter, not Danny Garcia. None of these guys who's supposed to be running the welterweight division. Nobody stepped up. Crawford has been running his mouth, but he didn't make sure that Bob Arum put together the contract and had these guys sit down at the table and sign it. He didn't make sure that was done. So who else was he gonna fight? He did the next best thing that was good for him, good for his family, and hey, it is what it is. He beat the guy down. That's what he was supposed to do. And you got guys, oh well, he was the little man coming up, and it was just impressive that he can get in there and take the power shots from this guy and survive for 12 long rounds, and this and that. And it just, I mean, what else was he supposed to do? This guy's not a walk in the park. Mikey Garcia is, pound for pound, one of the best boxers in the game right now. So if he doesn't want to be knocked out, he's not going to put himself in positions to get knocked out. That's what good boxers do. They don't put themselves in positions to get knocked out. If the referee was any kind of referee, he would have stopped the fight, but he let it go. You know what I'm saying? And as he should have. As he should have. It was the fight of that magnitude, all those people in there. Nobody wants to see a stoppage, but even though if you were watching the fight, you kind of did. If you were any kind of decent person, you did want to see the referee step in there and stop Mikey Garcia from taking the shots that he was taking. Errol Spence he was putting hands on that dude, man. He was hitting him. Like, you could see Mikey Garcia not even just wincing, but just like, oh, pretty much like, oh shit. Like I took one to the rib, I took one to the gut. He did that multiple times in the fight. It's just, it's no way I would have allowed him to go in there and take that. But respect to Robert Garcia for allowing his brother to go in there and do what he wanted to do, and go out the way that he wanted to go out, because he would have never been able to respect himself had they stopped the fight. So much respect to them, but I didn't like seeing it. I'll tell you that. I'm a Mikey Garcia fan, and I'm a Spence fan, and I didn't like seeing Mikey Garcia taking punishment through the seventh and the eighth round the way that he was taking punishment, man. Like, throw in the towel, go ahead and just wave it off, man. And he did a honorable thing by moving up in weight and taking on this guy when nobody else did, and they got in there and put on a decent performance, and the fans were happy. We all were happy. Boxing won tonight. So why would you let that dude go in there and take a beating like that? Anyway, I don't really have too much more to say other than congratulations to Spence, congratulations to Mikey Garcia for getting in there and doing it, man. We respect you, we love you in boxing. I love Spence, love what both of those camps did in getting these guys ready and getting them prepared the best way they know how. And once again, boxing won tonight. So y'all have a good one, man. I'll be at the next one, or not at the next one, but I'll be covering the next good one. Maybe in June. I guess we'll be looking forward to June or July when we see. I guess I'll cover Anthony Joshua. I don't know, but we'll cover the next couple of fights that's up and coming too. So anyway, man, I'm out of here. Peace.